Hello there, Scholar in Post here. Figured I'd do something a little different this time around since I wanted to focus on playing and clearing this. So, welcome to my run of the Shura Gauntlet of Strength. I was initially considering doing a Sekiro playthrough since I still need to clear the game once more in order to get one more ending, but in the end I figured I'd rather just showcase the real attractive point of the game, the bosses. This was my fourth run of the Gauntlet. I got progressively better as I remembered how to fight each of the bosses. First, Isshin put me down, then Demon of Hatred reminded me that I hated him, and Inner Father I had never encountered before. But that tangible feeling of progression is why I love these games. Now, I started making combat primers to take a look at the movesets of bosses that I liked, and I already put out the skill primer for Sekiro. Since I needed to unlock Sakura Dance for the skill primer, I had already cleared it. First try, I might add. Shame I hadn't recorded it back then. But if I wanted to do combat primers for Isshin and Owl, I'd need to have access to their inner forms as well. And since I hadn't unlocked those yet, this is me going to do that. With this time, I figure I can talk about myself and my experience with Souls-likes while showcasing my suboptimal first clear, since I would be much too distracted with gameplay to actually hit every note I would want to go over. With that, enjoy my rambling over the Gauntlet of Strength, Shura. So, without a doubt, I really enjoy Souls-likes. Many find their difficulty off-putting, but I like facing these kinds of challenges, learning mechanics, and being put to the test. It's why I also like stylish character action and fighting games. That said, my first encounter with the genre didn't exactly hook me. In fact, I almost forgot that first time because of how little an impression it made on me. I was hanging out over at a friend's place, and eventually I was thrown the question of, do you know Dark Souls? At the time, I legitimately did not. So, in his attempt to initiate me, he started up Prepare to Die edition on his computer, and ran me through character creation. I recall going with a knight since it's a great all-rounder starting class. Now, I don't really recall my journey through the Undead Asylum. I recall getting hit by the cannonball that opens up Oscar's hole in the wall, but I apparently beat Asylum Demon without any sort of lasting trauma. I recall finding my way in the Undead Burg, and I also now recall wanting to dual-wield both my sword hilt and longsword, despite the protests of my friend. Dual-wielding is cool. I didn't know it wasn't great in the first Dark Souls. He never did elaborate why that was a bad idea though, just telling me something about not having poise. I don't know why he thought I would understand something he never explained to me. I vividly remember encountering that first Black Knight, message telling me to backstab him, and ignoring my friend's advice not to try it. It went as well as you'd think. Again, my friend told me not to fight him head-on because the Black Knight had a lot of poise. No, he did not explain to me what that meant. My friend is not a teacher. He did end up giving me a way to cheese a Black Knight by essentially sniping it from out of bounds with a bow, but in retrospect this was not a great way to get me to engage with the game. The last thing I remember was defeating the Taurus Demon with plunging attacks, as directed by my friend, and that was the last I had seen of Dark Souls for a good while. Despite being touted as super hard, that trial run really didn't give me a strong enough impression to care. Years later, YouTube randomly recommended me a video of some very good friends playing the demo to Neo. I thought the game looked really cool, really difficult, but really appealing. Then I heard them compare it to Dark Souls. Dark Souls is like this? I thought, maybe I should check it out. And so I took off to their YouTube channel where I watched them play through Dark Souls. Thoroughly entertained by them, I finally picked up Remastered myself, as it had just come out at the time. Now, I haven't finished Dark Souls. I placed the Lord Vessel, defeated the Four Kings, and was making my way to the Tomb of the Giants, when life came up and said I had things I needed to do. I took care of those things, but I haven't been back to it since. My whole gaming rhythm changed, and I spent boatloads of time clearing various Yakuza games instead. Further later on, I picked up the Code Vein demo, because I thought it looked neat. I didn't realize it was a Souls-like until I started playing it. I will mention here that, despite my progress in Dark Souls, gameplay never really felt like it clicked for me. I could go through the motions, but I can't really say I learned boss patterns. I mostly just depended on powering through with my stats and reaction speeds. Demo Queen's Knight was a wake-up call. It dealt high damage. I was actually somewhat underleveled with unupgraded armor. Had high HP. I was using an unupgraded bayonet for the mobility. And a relentlessly quick moveset that forced me to learn the fight, read the moves, find openings, and take advantage of mechanics in order to win. I died repeatedly, but the click happened. I was having fun. I was learning the moveset, and eventually, I beat it. I went on to buy the game proper and cleared it once over. I do need to revisit it to do the DLC and New Game Plus at some point, though. When Sekiro was announced, I was hyped. The game looked really cool, and while it was clearly a different flavor of Souls-like, the key ingredients were definitely there. I eventually got it, started up, and promptly had my ass kicked for 8 hours before putting it aside. Coincidentally, I moved on to play Diet Sekiro. I mean, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Despite playing on Jedi Master difficulty, I found it massively easier than Sekiro, and cleared it. Revisiting the game almost 2 years later, JFO feels so clunky compared to Sekiro, it's amazing that I managed to deal with it. But now, with my blade honed by the Force, I returned to Sekiro. Picking up where I left off, I had the epiphany that anything not deemed unblockable could be blocked, and proceeded to clear the game 3 times over. Now, here I am, 10 months after initially beating the game, playing it sporadically, cleaning up loose ends, and still enjoying the thrill of battle. I know its lack of customization and strict adherence to mastering its mechanics puts Sekiro below other Souls-likes for many people, but I can confidently say that right now, Sekiro ranks amongst the top of my favorite games. I do plan to play other Souls-likes. I have Nioh 1 and 2, and as I mentioned before, I would like to get back to Code Vein for the DLC and to do a second run. I have to get all the blood codes if I want to make a primer for that after all. I do also want to go back in and finish Dark Souls, if not start a fresh run on PC, as I originally played on PS4. I also have Dark Souls 3. I would love to play Bloodborne on PC, but until that happens, I have it on PS4 as well. And of course, I look forward to Elden Ring. Now, before I get to Owl, let me briefly cover what I encountered in the runs before this one. As I said, this was my 4th run. I initially dreaded doing the Shura Gauntlet, as it was filled with bosses that I really struggled against, Emma aside. I only defeated Isshin, Demon of Hatred, and Owl Father once each, and never really made the effort to fight them again, even for practice with reflections. Naturally, this means I didn't bother to practice them before attempting to do the Gauntlet. As I recently made my Emma combat primer, I more or less had her fight down. I'm not a speedrunner or perfect player, nor do I put in extensive practice, so as much as I would love to no damage fight her, I am still much too prone to making mistakes. So long as I win, I don't mind a scratch here or there. I will say though, I still suffer from underutilizing my items. It had been a long while since I fought human Isshin, so I lost to him in my first run. Embarrassingly enough, I didn't even get him to phase 2. Luckily, muscle memory kicked in, and I had no problems with Isshin for runs 2, 3, and 4. Out of the whole group, Demon of Hatred was probably the fight I was scared of the most. It took me the better part of an hour or two to beat him the first time, and even then I felt like I had a lot of trouble with his moves. That said, I got extremely close to beating him during my second run. As in, if I hit him one more time, I actually would have won. I ended up using every last health item I had, every last spirit emblem to get him to that point, and lost it in the end. Needless to say, I wasn't happy. However, surviving that long to reinstall his moveset into my brain paid off, as in runs 3 and 4, I treated him more as a speed bump rather than an insurmountable wall. And now, Inner Father himself. Owl Father was a matchup that I was not too fond of. Personally, I like Great Shinobi better, but Owl Father actually has exploitable perilous attacks, while Great Shinobi has none. Either way, the fact that his fight takes up about half the video should be an indicator of how safe I was playing it. And only barely. I could have practiced him after unlocking his reflection, but I wanted the win and I wanted it now. In run 3 I actually managed to get him to phase 2, but was overwhelmed by his new attacks. But Seeing as we know this was the successful run, I'll let you see how I barely achieved victory as a Shura.
破れるか。存外に心地よいも